Hey guys, it's Duct Tape Susie, and this is the ultimate duct tape purse tutorial. So this is the tutorial everybody's been wanting. If you've seen my bag in the Star Wars whole roll challenge, you'll know this is the bag. So to get started, you're going to need 2 to 3 rolls of tape, full rolls, cutting surface, cutting tools, a ruler. Also, I forgot to mention, you must be an experienced taper to do this tutorial. It's too intense for a beginner. So if you're a beginner, go check out my beginner's tutorial for the crossbody bag tutorial. So back to the things you're going to need. You're also going to need a ruler, a zipper, and staple guns, staples, and D-rings. D-rings and the zipper is optional. I'll show you how to do it either way. So let's get started. Okay, so if you're an experienced duct taper, you already know how to make a fabric sheet or a duct tape sheet. Basically, you're just doing a 10 by 10 sheet for your outside. This is going to be your outside color. And once you have the 10 by 10, you're going to flip it over sticky side up and cover that with your interior color. And you're going to continue building that fabric until it's up to a 9.5 inch. And that remaining ½ inch, you're just going to fold over onto the inside color so that way you have a nice rounded edge. I will show you different options throughout the video on how you can shape your bag. If you liked some of the purses that I've been doing lately, one's in my Star Wars whole roll challenge video, but this gives you an option if you want to keep it just as straight and not do it shaped, so you still have the rounded effect to it. So let's get started on the next section. Okay, so bottom you're going to need 2 strips of tape that are 10 inches long, and you're going to create a fabric so it's 3 inches wide. And then you just flip it over and cover up your sticky. So again, that is 10 inches long, 3 inches wide. That is your bottom. Now we're going to do our sides. You're going to need 4 strips of tape that are 11 inches long. And you're going to create a fabric that is 3 inches wide. And then you'll flip it over, cover it, and you're going to do that to both of your sides. So once again, your sides are 11 inches long, 3 inches wide. I'm going to show you different ways of making a bag throughout this tutorial. So if you just want to do a straight bag, you don't have to cut on an angle to make it curve. So just skip the part where I show you how you're cutting on a curve right here. So if you're going to do a curved bag, start your ruler at ½ inch on the inside and then take your ruler to the bottom corner. And this will kind of give it a slant. You can do that to both of the sides and both of the side panels. So that'll give you 2 inches at one end and 3 inches at the other. So do that to both of those, and we'll move on to the next part. Okay, now I want to show you how to cut some curves in your bag so it's kind of shaped. When you're doing this, you're going to take your bottom 2 pieces and make sure it's sandwiched together. You want your rough edges, not the edges. So you're going to take that bottom and you're going to cut off your corners in a curve. So it's kind of like a curved edges. You're going to do that to both of your corners at the bottom. At the top, you're going to leave that alone, and I will show you how to do a curve for the top. Now, if you're not good at putting trim on, I don't suggest curving your top because you're gonna cut off your smooth edge and it'll be all rough. So you want to make sure it's nice and smooth. So if you're not good with that, I would say move on with the rest of the tutorial. And if you are interested in putting a zipper in or putting trim on, you can continue with this tutorial. So you're going to take a piece of paper and you want it as wide as your panels. So if your piece of paper happens to be a little bit longer, just cut off the excess paper, and you're going to want to make sure that when you cut your curves, your panels are sandwiched together. So basically, after you've cut that piece of paper down to the size of your bag, you're going to fold it in half, and we're going to cut the curve from the center to the edge on a curve. And I started mine about 2 inches down the middle to cut on a curve. And this template will help you by making sure that your curves are kind of even all the way around. So I'll show you here. After you cut that out, you're going to unfold your piece of paper and place it at the top. And now you're going to take your X-Acto knife or whatever you're cutting with and trace around that. So once again, make sure that your panels are together and they are straight at the top. Trace around that. It's going to take a couple of times because your sheets are thicker. So just continue cutting it if you need to until your curve is completely cut out. And then I will show you how to add a trim to it if you want to add a trim. Okay, so basically I'm showing you how to put a trim on your bag here. If you're going to add a zipper later on, you can skip this section because you won't even see the trim after you've put the zipper in. But if you're not putting a zipper in and you're just going to add a flap instead, go through with this trim idea. So you're just going to take a strip of tape and you're going to cut it on a curve by using your template, just by tracing around it to give it that rounded effect. And then you're going to flip it over where the sticky is, cut a bunch of little slits, and you're going to fold those sticky little tabs inward. This will give you a nice smooth trim for your bag. So like I said, if you're going to use a zipper later on, just skip this step because you won't see your trim, and yeah, it's just kind of a waste of time if you're adding a zipper. If not, then this is what you want to do to both panels. And then I will show you, oh, also if you want to add pockets, this is a time to do it. I'm not going to show you in the video how to make pockets, and maybe I'll do that in a later video. But yeah, this is what you want to add your pockets to the inside of your panels before putting this together. Okay, now you're going to start assembling your bag. So you're going to grab the bottom piece that you made a few minutes ago and one of your front or back panels. When sandwiching this together, you're going to make sure that your outside color is facing you or facing you, and then you're going to grab your bottom and make sure the inside color is facing up. You're going to take your staple gun and start at the one corner, put a staple there, go to the other corner and place a staple there. Now this is just going to hold it in place so you can continue to staple all the way down. And you want to make sure all those staples are in there nice and tight. You don't want any loose ones. If so, pull them out and restaple because otherwise it's going to poke later on and probably stab you. So yeah, make sure those are in there nice and tight. And if you want to make 2 layers of staples, you can do that. It'll just make your purse more durable. Next, you're going to take a strip of tape that is about 7.5 to 8 inches long. This is just long enough to cover your staples. So you're going to place half of it on your staples, and it's going to be the flat part of your staples. So place half of it on, and then the sticky you're going to fold over, but instead of just folding it over onto the staples, you're going to fold the material that the staples are on. So you can see me there's just barely any material unfolding. It's just enough to where the staples are. So there you go. There you got your sewn effect to it. You're going to do the same thing to the other side. So grab your front or back panel. You're going to do the same thing. Make sure you get sandwiched correctly with your outside color first. And then your top layer is going to be your inside color. You're going to start at your corners where your curves are with your staples and continue stapling all the way down. And you're just basically doing the same thing here. You're going to need another strip of tape that's going to be 7.5 to 8 inches long. I don't usually measure my tape for that. I usually just put it along the side, the tape next to it, and just kind of go from one end to the other end. But yes, I think it was about 7.5 to 8 inches long. So yeah, you're just doing the same thing here, placing half on, and you're placing it on the flat end of the staples. And you're going to fold like you did earlier, folding the material with the staples, not just onto the staples. So after you have that done, you'll have your bottom attached, and you'll have the faux sew Susie effect to it, and we'll move on to our sides. Okay, now you're going to put your sides on, so make sure you flip your bag over, and you want to sandwich this once again, outside color, and then your side is going to be inside color at the top. You're going to take the bottom all the way down to the seam at the bottom of your other panel you did earlier and staple all the way down that side. You'll see you have about an inch, inch and a half of leftover fabric at the top, and that's okay, you want that. So make sure you have your staples in there nice and tight, and you're going to cut a strip of tape. I don't have a measurement for you on that, but it's basically just to cover your staples. So you cover half on, and you're going to fold it over along with the staples. You're folding the staples as well. Just like you did your bottom, you're going to do that to your sides. Now you have a lot to do with the sides because you have two sides, and you have to do it 4 times. So it's pretty much the same thing. Once again, you see me lining it up from the bottom to the top and then stapling it down the sides. And make sure, once again, that you have it sandwiched with the layers correctly, otherwise it'll be mixed match colors. And you don't want that. So basically you're doing the same thing, so I'm probably going to stop talking here shortly and save on my voice. If you have any comments or questions, you can leave them down below in the comment section, or you can inbox me and I'll try to help you out with that. I did have to speed up this tutorial because it was 45 minutes long, so I apologize for the fast part of this. So with this section, you're folding up your bottom and your sides, and as you can see, it's kind of inside out, and that's how I always do my bags when I assemble them. And you're just doing the same aspect to the sides as what you did earlier. You just folded up your other panels here. So you're cutting your tape, putting it on the flat head part of the staples, half on, half off, and folding it over. Now you're going to do that to all of your sides, and then when we attach the bottoms, or bottom corners I should say, I will explain that better. Okay, now we're going to do the bottoms. So you're going to start at the bottom, not the side at the bottom, but the bottom piece there. And you're going to kind of fold it in on a curve to match your curve. If you did a curve here, this is the part you're going to need to do for your curved part of your bag. If you did a straight edge, you could just staple straight across at the bottom there. But if you did a curved bag, you're going to have to curve your bottom and staple that. And you're going to have to do that on both sides at the bottom. Okay, now for the sides here, you're going to, where it meets, you're going to staple the edges. If you have a straight bag, you already stapled this. If you haven't, you should have. You're just stapling it straight across here on both sides. And you want to make sure that you have a lot of sturdy staples throughout this whole process. The bottom and the sides is the most important part of the bag because it holds it together. So you do that to both sides, and then you're going to cut. Altogether, you're going to need a total of 4, possibly 6, 3-inch strips of tape. But for this part right here, you're only going to need 2. So take one of those 3-inch strips of tape, put half on your staples, and I put at the bottom half, and then you fold it up. Remember, you're folding your material with your staples up, and that will help with your curve. So you do the same thing to the other side. Okay, now I'm going to show you how to do the sides where we did the curves at. This is where you need your other strips of 3-inch tape, and you're just going to put half on and half off and fold it like that onto itself. And you're doing that with all of the corners. I already did the one side in this video, but I'm showing you how to do the other side. Pretty simple. So now you have a sturdy bag that is assembled. We're going to turn it in right side out. I would say inside out, but you put it together inside out, so we're going to do it right side out. So after you have it all pushed out, this could take a while. It is kind of difficult to get it all out. So yeah, you want to push out all the corners and make sure it's completely inside right. And then we will attach the strap and D-rings. Here, if you're not doing the D-rings, you can just skip this part and do the strap instead. So you need 2 3-inch strips of tape. You're going to fold them in on each other, so it's kind of half and half. You'll see here, I'll do it again. Half in, and then the other half over. And then you're going to take one end of your D-ring and slip it through, fold it in half. And now I'm doing a measurement test. I'm taking that end of the tape to the other end and folding it in as if it were taped down. And if your D-ring sinks in, that means that you need to trim down your sides a little bit. So you'll see here, I'm testing it, and the D-ring sinks. So I cut about a 1/2 inch off both sides, and that is the purse straps, or the purse sides. So let's try that again, taking your ends to the end of your sides there, and if the D-ring doesn't sink, which it does not, that is right where you want it at, you are ready to staple it. So take your staple gun and staple your ends together there, and you're going to want to do a lot of staples. This is going to hold your strap, and you don't want it to fall apart. So yeah, make sure you get a lot of staples in there, and if you have any loose staples, take those out and re-staple it, because they will eventually lift up and it won't be as sturdy. So you're going to actually do that to both sides. So once again, take your strip through your D-ring, and when you're doing these strips through your D-ring, make sure that the seam is on the inside. And then you're going to staple it, and you're going to cut 2 3-inch. Actually, I do more than 2 3-inch strips. I do about 2 to 4 per side. It's totally up to you. I just like to make sure that those are going to stay down afterwards. So in the video, I only show you me cutting, I think, 2 3-inch strips, maybe 4. Yeah, there's 4. Okay, so you take the one, you cover up your staples, and then fold that in. And you want it to meet your other corners. So you just tape that down inside your bag, make sure it's stuck in there really good. And as you can see now, it's flush with the sides there. And you're going to take another strip, and this is where I use more than one strip of tape, because if you use your handle a lot, it's going to eventually pop up, and you don't want that to happen. So make sure you use as many strips of tape as you want there to hold that down. You're going to do that to both sides. And if you are not doing D-rings, then you just do that same process, but you do it with your strap instead of the D-rings. So now for your strap, you're going to need a strip of whatever color you decide to do that is 23 to 24 inches long. And you don't want any rough edges on your strap at all, so you just fold half of it onto itself all the way down. Try not to get any creases or bubbles or anything of that sort. And then the remaining sticky fold over onto itself, so you have nice soft ridges. If you have rough edges, eventually that'll fray and it'll break, so that's why it's important to do it like this. So you take one end of your strip, or actually going to take you're going to do 2 strips of tape that is 3 inches wide. Now when you attach your strap right here, make sure your seam is on the inside. Take part of that in, fold it over your D-ring on the inside like that. Take your strip of tape, place it on the outside, and fold it over top of that piece that you just folded. So you're going to do that to both sides. So if you want to add a flap here on your front of your bag, you can do that, and then you'll be done. If you don't want to and just be done, then just be done. I'm going to show you next how to add a zipper if you want to, and this is going to be very difficult, so maybe watch it before you make it. So I'm going to show you how to do that zipper right now. Okay, so for your zipper part, you're going to need to turn your bag back inside out again. You're going to cut 2 strips of tape that are 10 inches long and just put your inside color on them. So you'll just have 2 pieces, 2 strips there. You're going to take a zipper. Mine is 10 inches. You can do it longer if you want, because we're just going to cut off that bottom part there. So if you made the pencil pouches before, you kind of know how to do this section. You're going to take one end of your zipper. Make sure you have your zipper facing downward. That's the most important part of this. Start at the top where your zipper begins, placing it on the one end there. And we're going to cut off those other little fringes at the end, so it doesn't matter right now. So you're just going to staple that end. And then you're going to staple all the way down the side there. And then you're going to take one 10-inch strip of tape and then cut it right down the middle, lengthwise. Take half of that with the straight edge part covering your flathead part of your staples. And remember, do not tape over your zipper, else you won't be able to open it. Fold it over onto itself, like you have been doing with the assembling of the bag. You do the same thing here with the zipper, folding the material with the staples. And you're going to do the same thing to the other side of the zipper. And remember, when you're putting this together, once again, your zipper is going to be upside down, so it's facing the other direction. You're going to do the same thing here. You're going to take the remaining strip of tape that you have left over with the straight edge covering your flat ends of your zipper. I'm sorry, not your zipper, but your staples. Do not cover your zipper, whatever you do. And then just fold it over onto itself again. So there you have your zipper, and we're going to trim it down some. So you're going to trim off the ends. So from the end of your zipper to the other end is going to be 3/4 of an inch, because you don't want it too wide for the opening of your bag. So on both sides, cut off. Once again, it's going to be 3/4 of an inch wide. So cut it down to the 3/4 inch wide on that. And you're going to cut off the fringes of the top part of the zipper, and at the bottom I have to cut off the lock part because it's too long of a zipper. So you just cut it down to the sides, and don't open your zipper yet because it's not locked. We need to put a strip of tape there so the zipper won't fall off. So take a strip of tape that's 3 inches wide and just cut that about 1/4 of an inch. Place half of that on your tape, or on your zipper. I actually did 1/4 of an inch. I did a 1/2 inch strip, 1/4 on and 1/4 over. So cut that strip to a 1/2 inch. And so that will lock in your zipper. You don't have to worry about it falling off. And then I'm just cutting off the edge of the top part of the zipper. I have my lock on that, so I don't need to put a piece of tape at the end. But if you had to, you can do the same thing to the top as you did at the bottom. Now you're going to take your bag, make sure it's inside out. You're going to place it inside. So make sure you have it upside down so your zipper is facing inside your bag. You're going to start at the one end and place a staple there. And now you're going to continue to staple all around that curve there. So you're going to have to keep bringing your zipper through to place it on a curve. So you do this all the way around it, and then afterwards you're going to cut a bunch of 2-inch strips. And then after you have the 2-inch strips cut, you're going to cut those in half lengthwise. And the reason why I say 2-inch strips is because you need to fold over your staples and cover those up. But you couldn't use a straight piece of tape because this is a curve. So take your 2-inch strips and cut those in half, and put 1/2 on the staples, the flat head part of the staples, and fold it over to the other side. So when you're folding it, you're folding your staples and your material along with it. And you're going to continue to do that all the way around it. Now if you were doing the zipper, that's why I told you not to do the trim, because you won't see it and it'd be a waste of your time. So I did take the trim off this bag before I applied the zipper, so that way I could show all the different ways of making the top of your bag. Now usually when I assemble the zipper, I do it before assembling the rest of the purse. But since I did the video showing the different ways of making it, that's why I had to do it at the end. So you're just going to fold that in and do the same thing to the other side there. And make sure you unzip your zipper. That's the most important part. Right now you unzip that zipper, because if you don't, you're not going to get your bag open. It's going to be very difficult to do. So make sure you unzip it, because you got to turn your bag back the right side. So continue stapling it and continue folding over your staples with the 2-inch strips of tape. And after you do all that, you're going to turn your bag inside out, or I should say inside right. But before you do that, you're going to have to take that strip of tape off your handle where it's attached to the D-ring. because this was done afterwards, you have to be able to get the end of your zipper around that piece, and I'll show you that. But that's why I had to do that kind of at the last minute. I never assembled the zipper at the end of making my purse. It's always been before I attached my bottom and sides. And to be honest, I think it's a lot easier to do it before assembling your bag, so you might want to try the different ways. So as you can see, your zipper looks a little funky right now. Turning your bag inside out, or inside right, I should say. And here I will be showing you how I messed up and needed to undo my handle first. You don't have to undo the entire D-ring, just the part where you have it taped around your D-ring. So right here I am undoing that. Just set that piece of tape aside so you can reassemble or put that back on after you have it all done. So you flip that one end of the zipper around your D-ring and turn it in right by pushing out all your corners. And zip it together. And now when you zip it, you're also going to crease the inside of the zipper on the edge there. You'll see me right there trying to push it in, because you don't want it puffy sticking out. You kind of want it to curve inside the purse. So it's going to take a little bit for you to curve that seam. That's what I'm doing right there. It's just making sure that my seam is nice and pushed in. So now you're going to reattach your strap again. Okay, so I will show you more here in detail. Right here you'll see where the zipper is, and I will show you how you're pressing. See how I'm pressing the seam of where the staples are? You want to make sure you press that in. It's very important that you press it in as much as you can, because you don't want it to be puffy. You want it to kind of sink into your bag, and just to give it to give your bag that curve form. So you continue doing that and your bag is done. If you still want to add a flap, you still can. It's totally up to you. But that is it. I hope this tutorial was helpful. If so, please click the like button. If you have any questions, leave them down below in the comments. I'll try to get to everybody. I hope to see some of these bags out there, and good luck making them. Have fun, and I'll see you guys soon.